This is John Bailey, the epic voice of Honest Trailers, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. It's a Fangirls podcast with five-ish people. The tangents and squee will continue. Squee.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode 453 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And last night's Oscar ceremony was just... it was a 10.
Yes.
Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do every week with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Everybody.
Greetings, salutations. Those of y'all that changed the clocks last night, hopefully you're doing okay.
Surviving.
It's nice that it's not pitch
Surviving.
black outside at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
For someone whose mental state hinges on the amount of sunlight I get, I like it, but I know not everybody does.
Well, you know, we have this thing that's called the tilt of the earth.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
eventually you get that anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I had my story times this morning, and one of them I do is a baby in me, which is, you know, babies, you know,
Mhm.
parents bring their babies. It was not as well attended today, and that's because babies don't give a crap about daylight savings. They need their naps. So
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I was like, for 2 seconds, I was like, why do I not have as many? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had a pretty decent group, but not as many as I normally get, which is fine.
Yeah. And how many times have you had to explain to Mario and Coco about their mealtime?
Twice. I did, and then my mom had to do that when I was at work for their lunch. It's just like, no, it's time change. And they're just like, we don't care.
Right.
Our
Like, that
stomach
being
says it's
said-
time to eat.
Eat, yes. We don't care about this time change. Feedings will be as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Like food, get in my belly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
and
good thing they
children-
don't have opposable thumbs, or I would be in big trouble.
Yeah. Well. Oh my. Well, we don't have a lot in the way of news other than some convention announcements, which I was not privy to this, so I was surprised with everybody else. But Indie PopCon, the hype is getting real. With first up, Solid Baker, who you may not know his name, you may not even know his face, because he is one of those actors, like Doug Jones, where he tends to get put into weird get-ups, so you never actually see him. But he played Sauron in Lord of the Rings, and has also been on The Mandalorian. So I do believe that he is
I believe he also did, his name is Lurtz, the head Urukai,
yeah
the guy who turned Boromir into a pincushion.
but I would say I'm pretty sure that he is highlighted in the behind the scenes stuff with Lord of the Rings, if you watch
Yes.
the behind the scenes
Yes, he
stuff,
is.
so by name, so that's cool. Sauron,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty awesome, but PopCon being PopCon and the awesome people they are, we couldn't just get one resident of Middle Earth, we're getting 3. So, along with Lord Sauron himself, we are getting the ring bearer Elijah Wood.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, isn't this like the first, or like I haven't really heard of him doing many.
He doesn't do a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of him doing some, so that's exciting.
Yes. But yeah, Mr. Frodo, Mr. Frodo. And then I am so excited. Yeah, no offense to Sauron and Frodo, but I am so excited. Andy Serkis. We're getting Andy Serkis. I'm so excited.
Ah, that'll be fun.
Oh, and not just because of Lord of the Rings. Like, he is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's so cool.
He seems like he would be like sitting in a panel with him would be just a hoot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he is the first celebrity where I might have to pay for more than one autograph.
Ooh.
Because I have my map of Middle Earth that I've started getting signatures on. Granted, it only has one signature on it right now, but I mean, it's Theoden, so yeah, that's a good start.
Well, now you can get Gollum and
Frodo and Sauron. They can all sign wherever they really want to, but I mean, they got their respective spots in Middle Earth. But Andy's also in the MCU, so and he's also in Star Wars. But John Cena and I were talking about that. We don't have anything yet to start collecting. We need to figure out something cool to start collecting Star Wars autographs on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
Well,
What?
I also recently watched. There's a YouTube channel I found called it's EOM Reacts. They do reactions to movies, and this guy Jay who there's a lot of movies he hasn't seen, and so one of them he did was King Kong recently. And I was like, oh, Andy Serkis was in that. He was a guy who gets killed by Kong, and he did the motion capture for Kong. So oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was in that. So it was so he was in that one too.
Mm-hmm.
The one Peter Jackson did after he did finish Lord of the Rings. He's like,
yeah. I mean, and technically he's in Star Wars twice. It's two different characters. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. So
well, awesome. Well, you'll
my bank account is sad, but I don't care.
Oh, good times.
Yeah. And then I saw FanX has made an announcement. You're getting a certain guy that helped us learn to read.
Yes. So we had that whole slew of guest announcements last week. Well, they added one more. I wonder if he wasn't quite the details hadn't been pinned down when they made that first announcement. But LeVar Burton, Geordie from Next Generation, also
Reading Rainbow.
Yes.
And I think he still has a podcast where doesn't he talk about books on that one?
Oh yeah, his podcast, LeVar Burton Reads, has been around for quite a while. So
yeah, I'm
and it is really good. So
yeah, I know it peripherally because I got a lot of stuff doing. But so he's around. I just have to say, because I watched Reading Rainbow religiously as a youngin', and then my dad would watch Star Trek, and I never really sat down with him when I was a kid to watch it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the Reading Rainbow guy. And it was so bizarre to me that I'd be like, that he would be over here talking about books, and then he would be on my dad's Star Trek show. So it was a thing. So there you go. So
well, and it was so cool when it actually crossed over where he actually got to film him working.
He showed him how,
and then TNG.
He showed him how he showed behind the scenes on how they put the Enterprise into space by filming the model, the scale model, and then they showed how they did the did the visual effect
Transporter?
for the transporter with its glitter.
Yep.
Big
It was
serpent in
so
water.
cool.
So
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, we've got LeVar Burton and Will Wheaton is there. I'm kind of hoping they're putting together a little Star Trek TNG something something. I mean, they've done it
Oh
before,
yeah.
but it's possible they could be doing it again. So that's exciting.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, LeVar does conventions kind of regularly anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we had him at PopCon
Yeah.
a few years ago. He yelled at my best friend. You can go listen. You can go listen to that PopCon review episode to hear all about it.
He's been to Salt Lake as well, so it's
Yeah.
just, this isn't his first,
But
but it's exciting.
yes, but I just so happened to stumble across. It was on LinkedIn of all things because I follow LeVar on LinkedIn. But there is a documentary coming out about Reading Rainbow.
Ooh, cool.
Ooh.
And it actually premieres this month. It's going to be exclusively at AMC theaters, probably first, and then move on from there. But it's called Butterfly in the Sky.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's the
Now
story
I got the song going through
of
my head.
yeah, it's the
Right.
story of reading Rainbow. So it's premiering exclusively at AMC theaters on March 17th and 20th. It's already been to a bunch of movie festivals and stuff. But yeah, it's like I happened to see that when I was on LinkedIn. LeVar had shared it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing I didn't know was happening.
So I just have to share something about that's related to Reading Rainbow because librarian, hello. And one of the things that librarians do
And you're
is
the right age group.
but yes, I am. I do. I'm over the kids. Well, there's three of us who are over the kids when we split it because we've got a lot of kids who come to our library. Anyway, so I'm over this year. I'm over the fairy tale section. That's one of my responsibilities, and there's quite a few older books that have that little "we're a Reading Rainbow" book, and every time I see that, I just get so excited. But then I also get a little sad because you can tell these books, even like the newer printings of them, they still have the Reading Rainbow logo on them, but it's like you could tell they're like 30 years old, or they were published so long ago, and I'm just like, I don't, because it's you got to balance. Okay, do I, this book is worn out? Do I keep it? Do I reorder it if I can reorder it? Most of the time I can. But like I'm just like, gosh, I wish these looked a little more updated and still have that, hey, this is a Reading Rainbow book. And because it just kind of makes me a little sad. It's like they're not really doing that quite as much. And I'm like, I would love to still have that. This is, recommended on Reading Rainbow and sort of thing, and have it be a little more modern day, I guess, not look like it's from 30 years ago, which I know it's just kind of this weird thing. I'm like, I don't want to get rid of it because it was Reading Rainbow and it's so great, but it also, that's one of the things they tell us when you're reading is like, if it looks old and dated, it's not going to go out, so don't keep it, don't do it. I'm like, nah. So I don't know, I wish there was more of a thing. And I know there's a lot of like celebrity book clubs and other like medals and imprints and whatever that gets put on books to sell them and to make them look good. But I'm just like, the Reading Rainbow thing. I'm just like, please, can we?
There's something a little bit different about those.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And like however long ago when they announced they tried to do a Kickstarter about getting Reading Rainbow back, and they did it, but it didn't last that long, I thought.
Yeah.
And I was a little bummed about that. But yeah, I see the Reading Rainbow logo on books, and I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
makes me happy and a little verklempt sometimes too. But yeah,
nostalgia is real.
Nostalgia is real. This is true. I mean, I'm not going to say Reading Rainbow taught me how to read, because I cannot remember a time I didn't know how to read, but...
Yeah, me neither.
Right?
Those
Help
things
keep
that I
our
was like,
interest in reading
this
going.
is... Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm watching PBS. It was like one of the very few channels we got in clearly, and I was like, I love books. This show is for me. So,
Like,
yeah.
we didn't have cable, and if it was during the day, that's what, if the TV was on, that's what channel it was on. It was our local PBS station. So
Pretty much,
Yes.
yep.
You know, Saturday morning it was the cartoons, and then after the cartoons, it's like, well, that's over.
time to go outside.
Sit down and watch infomercials.
Yep, go outside. Or wait, I was a big fan of the Frugal Gourmet. I would watch, and then I'd be with my little kitchen play set and pretending to cook along with them. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the signal. Go outside, kid.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Well, that's exciting. So, and then I forgot to add this to the notes, but a little bit of housekeeping. My episode of Set Listing Bruce is now out.
Woohoo!
So you can hear my adventures in Detroit this past November with Chauncey, not just seeing, but meeting Metallica. So,
Nice.
and what it was like to do the VVIP experience for for something like this. So whether we thought we got our money's worth. So
Nice.
But yeah, that's in the set listing Bruce feed. So
rock on.
Thank you to Jesse for having me on, and I love the fact that Jesse likes to have people on talk about musicians besides Bruce Springsteen.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So there is that. And then we got a little bit of feedback from Shalane. She says, I didn't know you girls would be talking about Ecto. I know some TV shows that are part of the MCU that I didn't watch because I didn't think they were worth a watch, but then they got canceled. They were called Cloak and Dagger and The Runaways. Yes, which those should be available to watch on streaming, either on Hulu or Disney Plus. I really need to watch both of them, actually. I have not done it yet.
I've caught bits of the Runaways, but I need to go back to rewatch it. James Marsters is in that one.
Yeah. So, she said, I've only watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, along with the miniseries on Disney Plus, like most of us. So, But, yep. Of course, we're going to talk about something that's part of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
At least the stuff that is more directly related to the MCU. So I'm glad that I didn't waste my money to go see Madam Web in the theaters. I'm just going to wait.
Okay. Cloak and Dagger is on Hulu.
I was going to say, when you have the actors going on SNL and making jokes about the movie that they were in, oof.
So that is our feedback from Shalane. So thank you very much, Shalane, as always. All right, moving on to this week's main topic, which last night was the 96th Academy Awards, held in lovely Los Angeles at the Kodak Theater, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, for better or for worse.
And starting an hour earlier was actually kind of nice.
Yeah, they started an hour earlier than they normally do. It started at 7 Eastern instead of 8, so that was rather nice. So of course we had our usual competition
Yes,
against folks So we kept the same team members just to make things easy, for the most part.
Yeah.
And so it was the four of us plus friend of Gold Standard, Frank Mendoza. Because you can't say his name without going Mendoza. That's the rule.
A la Khan.
Yes, exactly. A little bit. And then Mel, who is Sean's other half.
Mhm.
Sean from Traveling the Vortex. And then the other team, it was Nick, Zan, Sean, Glenn,
And Keith
and Keith,
and Charles.
and Charles. Yeah. So, so we did our usual. We got the teams together. We each had our respective chat on the Facebook that we could talk. Come up with a team name. We were Team Arconia. We'll nod to only merged in the building there. The other team chose the name Team Bonsai.
Probably from Buckaroo Banzai.
Probably.
I love that we went A and B.
Yeah.
That was.
And then we had our communal chat where, we could post things like, once an award ceremony is taking place, we post a link to the winners or, interviews, memes, that sort of thing, trash talk.
All in good fun.
All in good fun. And really just kind of holding down the fort until we get the last award ceremony before the Oscars, which this year happened to be the SAG Awards, with a little bit of a gap in between. Unlike last year, it was the BAFTAs, and it seems like you sneezed, and the Academy Awards were like the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same every year. It's so weird, but whatever. So then once we got our nominees and got past the final awards ceremony of the season, we divided and hopefully conquered. So I don't know how Nick is the captain for the other team. I don't know what he does as far as management. Over here, I am a technology weirdo. So I make a spreadsheet color coded with each of the categories and the nominees, and then everyone gets a column with their name and a color, and I just plug in what each person picks for their individuals, and then I also track what, if anything, any of the Oscar nominees won in any of the previous award ceremonies of the ones that we keep track of, which is the SAG Awards, the BAFTAs, the Critics' Choice, and
Golden Globe.
Is it the Gold Globes?
Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Golden Globes. Yeah. So.
No Nickelodeon Kids' Choice here.
Nope.
Nope.
That does not factor into it, unfortunately.
Although I think they come later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's when they have fun.
Yes.
So then we sometimes use, everyone's got their own technique as far as their picks. I tend to go with, I look at who's been winning what, who seems to be on a tear, just winning anything and everything. Seems to be a good indicator most of the time. This is not foolproof, as we've learned.
It's like anything. Like whenever you do I don't want to say it's like anything, because there's sports predicting, which anything can happen there.
Yes.
But this is, you got judges and voting a committee involved. So there you go. So you just kind of like, what's the committee thinking? And just what's been in addition to that, what's been going on in Tinsel lately, and things, what kind of gauge the mood over there, and what they would want to be celebrating this year. And Hollywood's been through a few things this year, as most of you may or may not be aware. But so so all that kind of goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, the movies in general, and going to the movie theater, has taken a hit since the pandemic. So a lot of people are like, it's like, if I have to decide between putting gas in my car or going to see what might end up being a mediocre movie, I want to put gas in my car.
And a lot of movies they're on streaming within a month or two of them going to the theater. And you got people like my family, like us. We're like, well, we got to get a babysitter, and we got to do this, do that. And if I can just sit down at home, pull it up on streaming, or I want to pop it in the DVD player, or Blu-ray, I'll do that. Although we are trying to find to go see Dune, but that's neither here nor there. I mean,
there are some movies that you should see.
I think we went and saw. We took the kids to see Super Mario Brothers, and we had a good time there because we were that was our event. And then Jared wanted to see Dungeons and Dragons for his birthday. And as far as going to the movie theater, that was it for us.
Yeah.
We didn't. We didn't have the money, the time, or anything for it. So I sorry. I don't know what y'all want me to say about that one.
Yep.
Anyway.
It is what it is.
Yep.
And I mean, so the movie theater industry has been kind of hurting. But then Barbieheimer happened.
Yeah.
And we were all like, yay, it's like between Barbie and Oppenheimer both gross, raking in over $1 billion each, or whatever it was.
I'm pretty
a
sure
crap ton of money.
Yes.
Way more money than I'll ever make in a lifetime. People were all like, yay, movies, it's back. And then the actors and everybody went on strike, and that production went on a hold for a lot of things.
Yeah.
That was not a good look. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't help. I mean, I personally, pro-union, but that's just me. So, that's like, do what you gotta do. But it would be interesting to see what, if anything, might have changed as far as potential nominees if production schedules had not gotten so out of whack.
Yeah.
What could have gotten finished in time to be eligible?
Or what would have been released, because Dune was supposed to have come out last November, and they delayed it till now.
Because
they wanted to make sure they had movies in all of their put in the theaters. So Dune would have been a contender this year for something, and it wasn't.
It will definitely be a contender next year.
Next year. Yeah. I mean, and who knows this year, because of all the delays, like how much are they even going to have to put in theaters for this year?
Right.
It's kind of sketchy. So, I mean, it's just, it was bad timing and all of that around. And there may be another strike coming because the Teamsters.
Costume.
Just kind of the more technical.
Yeah, the
costumes, the makeup, the crew type,
makeup, hair, props.
Yeah, and they got hosed last summer
Yep, they got the raw end of the deal, big time.
Oh, they did, and my heart goes out to them 100%.
That's why John Cena went out in the buff from the sounds of things, from what I read, to support.
If you don't have costume designers, you're going to be, well, there is a genre of movie making that you could do that, and it
we don't.
They have
this podcast.
They have their own award ceremony. Good for them.
They've got their own thing they do. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, that was rather humorous.
Yeah.
And I love the little nod to Caribou net with the drapes.
It was John Cena, which I don't think anybody was complaining when he came out.
No.
I mean, technically, he was not completely naked. He was wearing
sandals.
Well, that too, but that is true. Probably because the floor is cold.
And I don't want to wander around that stage barefoot.
Yeah. But yeah, you never know. Somebody's sequins fall off the ground. You cut your toe open or something.
Right. Or somebody lost a Swarovski crystal off their chest.
Yes. Yeah. But technically, he was wearing. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's got a proper technical name in the industry, but essentially he was wearing a flesh-colored banana hammock.
All right.
So it is something that they have for both, obviously for women. If you've got the women parts, it wouldn't be a banana hammock, but the same idea of it is a very minimal piece of fabric clothing that covers the most important parts for when you're doing scenes where you're technically supposed to be naked.
Yes.
So it just kind of keeps things from. I mean, for women, it's a little easier because ours is just kind of there. Yeah. But for the men, it keeps things still. So that it doesn't, try to have a mind of its own. So I'm trying to put this as delicately as possible.
Yes, you're doing a good job.
It's a difference between having an outie and an innie, Anyway. So yeah. So technically, John Cena was not naked. I actually have seen a shot of him where he doesn't have the toga on. Presumably, it's before he went out to do the bit. Right before he went out to do the bit, but he didn't have the envelope either, and you can see the weird underwear thing that he is wearing. And that's just to keep it so that nothing is accidental. Because even now with like the FCC delay, thanks to Nipplegate from the Super Bowl. Even with the delay, better safe than sorry. Just make sure that the stuff is covered up and isn't accidentally going to be seen by anyone that doesn't want to see it. But it was a funny bit, especially acknowledging the fact that there had been a streaker back in the 70s, and that guy was actually naked.
Yes.
So.
and the British actor, I can't remember who it was.
It was David Niven.
David Niven's, just the way he rolled with it, and then the biting comment afterwards was just like, brilliant. You did that flawlessly.
Yes. Well, it takes quite a bit to fluster a Brit. So stiff upper lip and all that. Keep calm, carry on.
Right. So anyway, Cena walks out in the all together.
Yes. And then is given a lovely toga to wear. So probably if it had been a different color, I would have said it was excess fabric from Ariana Grande's dress, but the part that she did use, but wrong color.
Well,
There were some very interesting wardrobe choices, and there always is.
Yeah.
With these
Well,
things.
see, it's not about looking your best. It is about, ooh, I got to get my name in the papers, on the websites, on the everything. So
Yeah.
let's look as ridiculous as possible.
Yeah.
Although I did,
Well,
I did see somebody commenting about, I think it was Emma Stone's dress, like her sleeves or her straps were like off, like hovering.
Oh no, that wasn't Emma Stone. Emma Stone's zipper broke.
Yeah.
On her dress.
Okay, who was the one that had the?
It was Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. Okay.
Yeah, that I kept mentioning. I mentioned that when we were hanging out last night because we had a Skype open, and it was me, Nick, and Holly, and then we're actually able to like speak while watching. Zan was visiting family, so she was just kind of in the chat, and then our other chat was also going as well for the folks. So we had like a chat room and then an actual like live speaking to each other. And I said that it was like, it's like, Emily Blunt, I love you, but when the fabric of your outfit is so stiff that the shoulder straps aren't even touching your shoulders,
there's something
you
wrong.
might have a problem.
Yeah.
Someone might have used just a bit too much starch.
Yeah.
Or
they put the wire
she's suffering from back problems, and it's really like, like a back brace disguised as part of an evening gown.
Traction.
Who knows? But yes.
You don't know. Considering it was like that whether she was sitting down or standing up.
Yeah, because the picture I saw, she was sitting down. I was like, did it just not sit down with her?
No, it was like that whether she was sitting down or standing up. So, yeah, it was a little odd.
Yeah. I was with the children last night watching Bluey, so I had to catch the highlights on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ariana Grande with her emotional support blanket.
Promoting
which
Wicked.
I mean, it was very like, you're just supposed to look at her and Cynthia and be like, well, Ariana's in pink, Cynthia's in green. They're playing Glinda and Elphaba in the Wicked movie adaptation. So it's like, that's like, they put Ariana in some big pink poofy monstrosity because that's the sort of thing that Glinda wears. As much as we poke fun, all you gotta do is look at OG Glinda from the 30s and her dress and look how big her sleeves are. So
not too far off.
Yeah, and then Cynthia with her dress, which I think was really cool because it was leather. It was Louis Vuitton, which they know their way around leather. And it kind of looks like either maybe like a dragon or like green flames coming off of the dress. So, which she's playing the Wicked Witch. So that makes sense. It makes her look very tough. And like maybe you don't want to get too close because you might get burned or poked or something. So, I mean, visually they got the point across, but it is also a lot of fodder. There's a lot of meme material throughout the entire night, and it started like if you were using Facebook Messenger and went into the GIFs. You didn't even have to type in anything, and there were already multiple GIFs just from Jimmy's opening monologue.
Yeah.
So, and as it went on, more and more got added. So.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, well, I mean, I was looking at it, and then I saw Michael Keaton.
Yes.
Michael Keaton.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It was it was to change things up, because like the Academy likes to do, to try and make things interesting so people will watch, for all of the acting awards, the big the big four acting awards, actor, actress, supporting, in both. They had 5 previous winners from that category on stage, and each one would say a little spiel about one of the nominees, because there are 5 nominees in those categories. And then I think, with the one exception, because he's banned at the moment, which he wouldn't have been last year's winner anyway. So I think whoever actually opened the envelope and announced a winner was the person who won last year. So, but then I think they grabbed the other people were people that maybe had some tie to the nominee that they were going to talk about. Whether it was a friend of theirs or somebody they worked with in the past. So like when they did supporting actor, Robert Downey Jr., the spiel about him was done by Sam Rockwell. So who we all know is Jason Hammer in Iron Man 2. Or Justin Hammer in Iron Man 2. So it was really funny. It's like, oh, Justin Hammer's blowing smoke up Tony Stark's ass.
Yeah. I loved that. I loved your comment when we were in the chat.
Yeah. So yeah. But then for all the other awards, it was either one person or 2. For most of the other awards, it was 2. Director, it was just 1, because it was Steven Spielberg. Like you do. And then so we got some interesting combinations when it was just 2 people, and definitely Arnold with Danny DeVito.
Oh yes.
I watched it. That was fun.
And it was funny. It was definitely funny. Because of course I was like, oh, twins,
yes.
the movie Twins that they were in together, where they're supposed to be a pair of twin brothers. But their whole spiel was, like, you wonder why we're both here, because we both tried to kill Batman. Granted, different actors playing Batman, but Michael Keaton was there and available, so they picked on him, and he just he was with it.
Oh yeah, he was down for it. Just that when he went, it was just like, okay, he's channeling Bruce Wayne. It's and then the bring it.
Well, most
like,
people, as far as movie Batman goes, it's Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah, yes.
Like, Michael Keaton for the movies, Kevin Conroy for the animated, and honestly, Adam West for TV.
Yep.
That's it. Batman actors will come and go, but you have your OGs right there.
I mean, that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
Was the Adam West Batman. I mean, even though it's I was by the time I was watching it, it was definitely reruns. It's been 30 years since it had been on TV, but that's what that was one of the shows that they would show on Nick at Night.
Yep.
As kind of retro programming. So it's like as far as I'm concerned, the Joker is Cesar Romero. So with his mustache, you could just see the texture of his mustache underneath the white face makeup. So
and Eartha Kitt was Catwoman.
Except when it was Julie Newmar.
That too. Yep, I forgot that Julie Newmar was in those. Yep.
So that's but that was definitely a very funny bit. So because you just with these award ceremonies, you get some actors together, and sometimes they know each other, so they're really good about playing off each other. You get like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey together. You're going to get something funny. But sometimes they get these combinations, and the writers will write some little intro thing before they announce whatever it is they're going to announce. And sometimes it's just awful because they're not funny, or there's no chemistry or whatever. But in this case, it's Arnold and Danny DeVito. It was quite funny. Even if they did fight different Batmen. At least Danny DeVito got to face his. So
nemesis, yes.
Yes, threw him out a window. And then of course, like they do, they have all of the best original songs performed throughout the ceremony. And they started with Billie Eilish with What Was I Made For from the Barbie movie. And then worked their way through the nominees. And as they kept doing the performances, even with just the first one, when they started with Billie Eilish, I even said, I was like, I really hope they bookend this with I Just Can and make that the last song performance. And that's exactly what they did.
She called
and
it.
Oh my God. I was laughing. So Chauncey thought that there was I had something wrong with me. The way I was laughing, he was like, "What is up with you?" And I'm like, "It's the performances that I just can't." Oh my God, it's so funny! I've watched it several times since. It's so freaking funny. I know people had issues with it being nominated because it seemed counter programming to the theme of the movie. I honestly think they just nominated it so they could get this performance.
Rachel, I think you're right.
I mean, I think that they were just if enough of us vote, Ryan Gosling is going to be forced to perform this in front of everybody.
Well, and you know what? From all accounts, Ken really was the star of that movie.
Yes,
that was everyone's favorite. So
yeah,
I mean, and then you have
if the
Flash.
Oscars want to stay relevant and keep their audience, give
the
people what they want.
Yes,
and to have Slash and Wolfgang Van Halen show up in this too. I mean,
yes. I mean, you've already got Mark Ronson who helped write the song. I think Mark Ronson pick any hit song in the last 10, 15 years. Hit song's been on the radio that you've gotten stuck in your head and you're like, get out. Mark Ronson probably has been involved. But so he's on the stage playing guitar or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Even before I was like, when they announced it, Ryan was going to be performing, and I'm like, I really hope they include some sort of dance number. And they did that, and then they delivered the best, not parody, it was more just a pastiche homage to Madonna and Marilyn Monroe, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, because Ryan's in almost head to toe pink. His shoes were not pink, but close enough. The other than that, he's in head to ankles pink with rhinestones all over it. The stage had been made pink. He's surrounded by guys wearing tuxedos and cowboy hats, which is a nice nod to Ken's, falling, thinking that the patriarchy has to do with riding horses. And then there's he's singing and the guys are dancing, and then they bring the other Kens, the notable Kens from the movie, which includes Shimu Liu, from Shang-Chi, and Shutagawa, our current doctor from Doctor.
I've got to say, I maintain that the best adaptation of Barbie and Ken is from Toy Story 3, and Michael Keaton played Ken in that movie. So it all comes full circle. But that's awesome. True. I watched the clip of it, and I was like, you know what? You know you're there because the Academy is just kind of making fun of you guys. Just have fun with it, because the people at home are eating it up and they're enjoying it. And just have a good time, and they did, and I'm very happy that Ryan Gosling got to perform, because that song's a banger.
It is. It's very much a banger. It was so funny. They were putting the lyrics up on the screens in the theater for people in the audience if they didn't know
sing along.
The lyrics.
Flashlights.
Yes, flashlights now, and Raya's just totally hamming it up for the audience, and oh my god. This fellow Kens are just like, and then they had Slash and Wolfgang. I was like, oh my god, this is it. It's just the more it went on, the more I was just dying from laughing, because it's like, whatever I wanted it to be in my head, I could not have come up with this, because it's so much better than anything I could have thought. The only thing that was missing, and I said this when we were chatting, is the only thing they needed, because it's like they got all these Kens, huffing it and everything. It just, just like off to the side, like just, standing there looking absolutely like put out that he's not being included, was Michael Cera as Alan.
Mm-hmm.
In his Alan outfit with the striped shirt or the shorts, and just standing there like, I'm not a Ken, so therefore I'm not being included.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have died, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
I was watching. I was looking. I was trying to look for the back corner, but nothing was coming.
Whatever Michael Cera was doing, I hope it was better than not being there. That was just so good.
Good times.
I died. So, well, let's get to our winners and how everything went as far as the contest is concerned. So we have 23 categories for this year. It'll be 24 next year.
Which is, well, okay. It was interesting because, we all submitted our picks. Mm-hmm. And then we, as a team, decided, Rachel took those picks and,
and for the most part, it was majority rules.
Yeah, majority rules.
Whatever.
There's a tie, but I think we're fine.
We ended up with one tie, because at first I did it and I had tabulated everything, because our deadline was March 3rd. Mm-hmm. Which would have put it a week before the Oscars. Both teams had some stragglers, so we gave, Nick was like, do you want to give more time? I'm like, yeah, we'll give him another 24 hours, because you know how life is. Sometimes just stuff gets in the way. So we gave him another 24 hours. I got Nick's team's stuff. So I went ahead and did ours when we just had the 5. Because we hadn't heard anything from Mel saying, I'll get it to you. I just need more time or whatever. It was like, if she gets it to us, great. If not, that sucks. But we'll make do.
Well, I mean,
so I did it, and we didn't have any ties. I didn't do any tiebreakers, and then Mel finally got hers in. So I plugged those in, and we ended up with one category where we ended up with a tie. And so to make it as fair as possible and eliminate as much human influence as possible, I took our 2 tied movie names and found an online coin flipper. And you could put words on each side of the coin. So it was the category for best adapted screenplay, because when we had the 5, it went to Barbie, and with Mel's edition, it was a tie between that and American Fiction. So I put Barbie on one side of the coin, American Fiction on the other. I flipped the coin 3 times just to keep it as fair as possible. So best out of 3. And it changed our choice to American Fiction. which is good because if it
Yes.
had not, we would have ended up tying
again
with the other team again. So
there we go. Thank you.
That
Mom.
worked out. That
Yes.
ended up working out well. But
Well,
you know, of the 23 categories, we ended up getting 19 of them right. And the other team got 18. So we beat them by 1. There were 3 categories where we had deferring picks.
Yeah.
And then there were 3 categories where both teams were completely shut out, where neither team got it right.
Yeah. Because you know, we got our picks, they got their picks, and we had a little image showing what everybody did. And I was looking at that after you posted it, and I was like, this is such a weird year because basically we had, like you said, all but 3 were the same. And it's just kind of like again, we were talking about this movie year. It's like things got delayed, things got pushed back. There were some, you know, it just seemed like, and also there were just some movies that they just did not perform. They did not do anything. And I mean, usually that doesn't matter for the Oscars because, you know, they pick their artsy fartsy crap anyway. But then again, you have stuff like Oppenheimer, which got caught up in the Barbenheimer meme, and everybody thought they had to go see both because, oh no, you're not a cool kid unless you go see them both on the same day.
Yeah.
I'm still like scratching my head over it, but then again, I don't get sucked into whatever. Anyway, I'm being a grumpy old woman with this, but it's like you had Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, and then they threw in Barbie just because. And it was just basically those 4 other, you know, more or less competing with each other. And then Boy and the Heron, which is a Miyazaki, which I think Zan said it in the chat, like don't bet against Miyazaki. And I'm like, even came time for my pick when I was thinking, I was like, they got to give it to Miyazaki. They just do.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, any other years, the Spider-Verse movie would have gotten it, but you're going up against Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah. Which is the closest person we have to an actual Walt Disney. Although, well, never mind. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it's just kind of like, it felt, I don't want to say predictable, but I don't have another word for it. It's like, well, duh, of course these are the things going to win. I mean, I guess, you know, you know, Scorsese could have been sort of the dark horse, but then again, it's kind of like, you know, Oppenheimer was such a big deal because of Barbie. And maybe that's why they threw Barbie in there, because if Oppenheimer hadn't been paired up with the Barbie meme, it wouldn't have done as well. And I feel like the Academy, like, oh man, we had so many flops this year. We need to like reward the things that actually did well at the box office. Because so many studios are just, they're hurting for cash because their movies didn't perform. Also, they have the strikes. Also, stuff is happening. So it's just, I kind of feel like that was their safe choice.
And that's the thing. It's like, between doing this as many times as we've done this now, and also doing Gold Standard, and reviewing literally 95 Best Picture winners, and seeing the history of the Academy Awards and how more often than not the Academy has a pattern. And they tend to stick with it. They like what they like, and they don't tend to deviate from it. But every now and then they do, for whatever reason. You know, we'll probably never know. And
you can
Yeah. So you can interpret it a number of ways. I mean, you can
You
look
can
and see
interpret
maybe
the inner workings of Hollywood. You have the makings of a fantastic shrink, and maybe you could solve some of our
yeah, you could probably
puzzles.
it probably make for a hell of a thesis for a PhD.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But it's just like, you know, it's like they realized like 2023 was their oh shit year, where they realized,
Yeah.
oh, people really aren't buying into our bull crap. You know, the
Mhm.
Oscar ratings are down, the box office is down for various reasons, and people are just kind of saying, look, we've got other options. I mean, someone was saying, of all the TV and all the movies that's ever been produced, you could, like, there is so much that you could watch and never watch anything brand new that comes out. There's like old TV shows, old movies, and a lot of it is on, it's on streaming. And they all these studios went and said, oh, we're all going to have streaming services. Well, I mean, people are all like, I can't pay for all these. I can't afford them. So they'll watch stuff, whatever's on Freevee or Tubi or what else? Pluto TV is the other one that they do. And they're like, there was like some article, like a lot of millennials and Gen Z, they're like, hey, there's all these cool black and white shows that I don't have to pay for. And I'll watch an ad or two because I'm not paying for this streaming service. But these are pretty great shows. And some of us who are like, yeah.
We've been trying to tell you this for how many years now?
It's pretty awesome. As my dad is fond of saying, he's like, I got 100 Gunsmoke episodes that I could be watching. So it's kind of like Hollywood is having this sort of this epiphany, like, oh, maybe we aren't as hot stuff as we've come to say. Maybe we ought to, try to win back our audience and not actively piss them off all the time. So let's have a crowd pleasing Oscars as much as possible. So they have Ken in there, and then people went and saw Oppenheimer, and I have not heard a bad thing about it from anybody who's seen it. Everyone's like, oh yeah, this is like the best movie, and it just it's historical. It doesn't have political overtones. It just tells the story. I mean, there is some license here and there, as with most historical stuff, but you don't feel like you're a bad person after you've done watching it. And it's sort, and so that's why I say they played it safe. And I kind of another post I saw or video, they were like, said, yeah, Hollywood has been humbled by this past year, and honestly, I think it's good. I think it's good because when you get too full of yourself and you have a year like this past year, you got to make changes and you got to fix it. And I want to see good creativity, good art come out of the movies again, and whether that's through Hollywood or maybe an independent something or other, but competition's good. And watching Robert Downey Jr. win an Oscar
Yes.
was just it wasn't quite to the levels of Brendan Fraser winning the Best Actor last year of my heartwarming moments, but I was like, man, you did it. You beat the odds. You came out.
Holly can confirm. I was crying.
Oh yes.
Ages before they even got to that category.
Yes. She was
in anticipation of it. So because I was just like, and then when they finally got to it, and I was like, ah! And then they announced his name, and I'm just like, I'm crying buckets, and Robert's cracking jokes about how Susan is his veterinarian.
Yes. and he was the snarly rescue pet.
Yeah. Those of us who remember the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, he was just in trouble. Like
he was the bad boy. He was Charlie Sheen before Charlie Sheen.
He was he was a pile of toxic sludge that nobody wanted to touch with a 10-foot pole. He had been, and we were talking about this because somehow Nick is not familiar with what Judy Garland went through as an actor. So I told him he needs to go watch the movie Judy with Renee Zellweger. But it's like, but Hollywood has a sordid history of if you put a foot wrong, you're going to get blacklisted. And this is even before like the McCarthyism and all of that. Just McCarthy came after, but if you did anything wrong, or even if you didn't do something wrong, but you presume or look like you did something wrong, go look up the story of Fatty Bulger. That'll tell you a lot right there, where he was accused of murder, found innocent, but didn't matter. His career was toast.
If you've been paying attention to Twitter in the last even 15 years,
yes,
you know how that works. Is you are guilty, and even if you're proven innocent, you do not. And the other thing too, especially with Robert Downey Jr., is like he got into it because he was a Hollywood kid.
He was a Nepo baby.
He was a Nepo baby.
Yep. For lack of a better term. And the thing is I mean, in this
industry, it kills you if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And he wasn't careful. So,
well, and part of that was, unfortunately, and this was the case for a lot of celebrities, including Judy Garland herself. The people at MGM were no help whatsoever.
Oh no.
But the parent, has a big effect on it. And Judy, her mom was a stage mom, essentially. Yep. And at first, it was Judy and her sisters were trying to make it as like a group, like family, like sister act. And it turned out that, Judy was like super more talented than the rest of them. So, her mom was like, plucked her out of the group and is like, I'm going to push you into doing this whether you like it or not. And you're going to make me a crap ton of money. And that's exactly what happened. And it's happened again and again and again and again. And for Robert, for RDJ, it was his own father. He was introduced. He was introduced to pot when he was barely double-digit age.
Yeah.
By his own father.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Hollywood is.
I will
say this, and I know Shalane is listening, and I know she's listening but I'm not. It's fine. When she was in theater, doing her theater program at school, and there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I'm going to go to LA, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be a big star." And she kind of wanted to do that, and I don't know what my parents said. It might have been similar to that, and I told her, "No, absolutely not. You do not want to go there. They will eat you up and spit you out, and it is not it is not a good industry." And there's a lot of pushback from people who are like, especially with kids, it's like, no, you do not want, because Hollywood is not kind to people. It really isn't. For all this, it's glitzy glam, whatever. It's dark. It's terrible. It's awful. Some of the stuff that people have gone through, and RDJ, he's one of the lucky ones. And he's not, you heard it in the speech thing. He's not shy about talking about it, but in a way
he doesn't like to harp on it, and he doesn't want to dwell on it. But if it gets brought up, he's like, I went through shit. So
and people know about it because it was all over the tabloids. I have a book from probably around 2003, and it's like these lyrics of a song, and but it's like has these images, and one of them makes fun of his cocaine habit or his cocaine addiction in there. And I look at that now and I'm like, oh man, this is so dated, because now, he's freaking Tony Stark, and now he's an Oscar winner. So he is definitely the exception to the rule. But I have nothing but good feelings about this, because at least somebody came out on the other side out of this, because so many in show business do not. So anyway, there's my
Yeah, I mean, we touched on this a little bit when we talked about, Iron Man, the first Iron Man, when we were looking back at the start of the MCU, back then when we had no idea.
Right. Yeah.
And
it was just another, they're trying to do superhero movies.
Yeah, exactly. And it was
they hired him so they could get him cheap.
Yeah, because
work with him.
Yeah, it was like, Hollywood already thought, first of all, that they were going to attempt to make a comic book movie for a character that was like D-list as far as superheroes concerned. It's like Marvel, you got Captain America, you got Spider-Man, but unfortunately, like, Sony's got the rights to Spider-Man for, the next billion years. The Incredible Hulk, and they're like, no, we want to do something different. So they're like, let's do Iron Man. And they're like, okay, who's going to direct it? And they're like, Jon Favreau. And at that point, the only thing he'd done was Elf. That was notable. And so people are like, wait, the guy who directed that Will Ferrell Christmas movie? And they were like, yes. And they're like, okay, who are you going to have star it? Robert Downey Jr. And they're like,
no. Train wreck.
So it's like you have a director with not a lot of experience under his belt, a Marvel character that nobody really gave a shit about, and an actor that most of Hollywood did not want to touch, because even though he had slowly been making his way back in, because he had done like Good Night and Good Luck and some other movies where he did a good job, so he was showing that he was working on it
back up, but
it was like, but people are like, this is this is going to be a big budget superhero action movie. That's a lot to put on a star's shoulders, and you want to put it on the shoulders of the guy who's been to rehab how many times, has been thrown in jail how many times, like Raymond Roberts said in his acceptance speech, his personal lawyer, who's had for 40 years, spent a good chunk of his career getting him out of the hoosgow. Because he was not insurable.
Mm-hmm.
And he but he was cheap because he didn't have the demand for it yet. And just by knowing the right people, Jon Favreau knew that Robert was trying to get on the right path, and this could potentially be it. Yeah, and the fact that he looks just like Tony Stark in the comics.
The industry that ostensibly helped cause his problems,
yes,
had completely shunned him. And
yes.
Like I remember watching an interview or a clip or something with Jon Favreau, and he's like, "Yeah, I wanted Robert Downey Jr." and he had to fight to get him to let the studio cast him, because they were like, "Oh hell no!" So
like, we'll lose our shirts.
Yeah,
you're gonna put the insurance bill if he doesn't.
Yeah.
So Kitty's, we RDJ is this big, awesome, hotshot Hollywood star, but look back in some of there was a time, and I remember this.
He was dog doo-doo as far as Hollywood was concerned.
Yeah,
he was a flaming bag of dog doo-doo.
But the tabloids, I remember seeing the tabloids in the grocery store line, and they would have these awful pictures of him, just like Robert Downey Jr. is on another, or whatever it was, and he was a joke, and no one laughing now.
Nope.
So good on you, Robert. You did it. You're awesome, and so that one, as far as I'm concerned, I think that one's the best feel-good story out of this Oscars. Is did it.
I'm getting emotional again just talking. It was funny because I went to the gym yesterday during the day, and it was like AMC, TNT, one of those random channels. FX, one of them, where the first Iron Man was on. And it was on while I was doing my workout, and by the time I got cleaned up and everything and was getting ready to leave, Tony was getting getting reamed out by Pepper before he goes out to do the press conference at the end of the movie. So I stood there and I was like, I can't hear it because they don't have the sound on the TVs, but it's like, it's Iron Man. I know what he's saying. And, you know, he gets out there and, you know, Christine Palmer is like, you know, you want us to believe that you had a bodyguard. And he's like, and then of course he ends it with, I am Iron Man. You know, and then because it's on TV, they cut the credits and go straight to the Nick Fury, you know, mid-credit scene. You know, who talked to you about the Avengers initiatives? And then it went right into Iron Man 2. But, you know, I was like, you know, I don't know if they were doing that because of the Oscars being that night and Robert being nominated, or if it was just, you know, coincidence or whatever. But
I'm thinking 50-50 in coincidence because they've been doing a lot of Marvel weekend movies. So it's just like, if there's nothing going for me homework wise or for podcasts, it's just like, I got that on in the background for enjoyment. It was like, yay, Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was just like, you know, looking at Robert in the first Iron Man and knowing that just all the odds seem to be stacked against not just him, but Favreau and, you know, Paramount, because it was Paramount at the time, and Fox, you know, whatever, 5 bazillion production companies.
It was all over the place.
Because Marvel is all like, we need money. Who wants to buy the Silver Surfer? You know,
so broke.
Who wants the rights to Man Thing? And just to see him there, and you know, the movie ends with that iconic line of, you know, I am Iron Man, and I was like, and here we are 16 years later, almost. It'll be 16 years in May with the first Iron Man movie. I was like, and odds are he is going to win an Academy Award. It was like, oh my.
If anybody would have told him back then about now, he would have been just like, what are you on?
He's like, I'm sure then he was like, I'm just happy to be working and getting a paycheck.
So that was, I feel like, you know, like I said, it's not, I don't know if I have, you know, the level of emotion I did when Brendan Fraser won last year, but it is definitely there. So yay, RDJ, you did it. Thanks for being our Tony. Keep rocking.
Yes. Yeah. So, and yeah, as I was said when we were chatting last night, I was like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Thank you, Susan.
Yes, big time.
For not just putting up with him, but, you know, helping him and being the support that man desperately needed. That he was lacking. But you know, he didn't say it in his speech, but you know, you could. I'm sure it was there in the back of his mind. But also, thank you, Jon Favreau.
Oh yeah.
Between Susan and John, we would not have what we have now with Robert Downey Jr. So
yeah, and it was so cool to see Short Round.
Yeah,
the nominees.
Yeah, someone else who's had a comeback.
Yes, it was just like, oh, that was so cool.
Yeah. So, and Brandon was there to present the lead actor, which went to Cillian Murphy. So, but yeah. So let's quickly go through these categories and see how everything played out. And I'm just gonna do this in the reverse order the way I have them written down. So this is not in the order that they were presented, because they present them in a different order every single year. Yeah. So it's like I think I got this list from the actual announcements from the day they announced the nominees. Best visual effects, Godzilla -1, which is pretty awesome.
Yes.
70 years after Godzilla first made his appearance in movies.
I just want to point out, and I'm not the only one, that a movie with reportedly $15 million in budget beat out all these movies that have gazillions and gazillions of dollars for best visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, you don't have to spend that much money to make a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Please learn your lessons, please and thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, look at Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That too.
Like for a movie like that, its budget was tiny.
Yeah.
And look what they managed to pull off, and that's because they used a bunch of self-taught special effects artists.
Mm-hmm.
So
money when they come out and say, "Oh, we spent $300, $400, $500 million on this movie." So
yeah, your point.
Yeah, I was like, in some cases, that's understandable. If you're doing a lot of visual effects that that require a lot of computer power, those aren't
and a lot of
cheap,
it comes from,
but yeah.
Well, a lot of that money comes from, the effects houses. They go in, they do the scene, and the director's like, "Oh, please change this one little thing." Well, one little thing takes hours and hours and hours of work and rendering and all this other stuff. So that's where the money goes, is like these directors that don't quite know what they're doing, and they don't. Yeah, they're like, "Oh, can't
or
you
they
just
do know what they're doing, but
well."
We've all seen the behind the scenes of the reaction from the folks at Weta when they realized that they needed to add the Eagles.
Yeah,
to come rescue Frodo and Sam from Mountain Doom. So
yeah, so
and
Peter Jackson's just like, oops. Yeah. Peter Jackson's like, oops.
It's kind of like,
I forgot to mention that.
It's kind of like, when your dad asks you to, put together a document for him, and you do it, and it's all done, and he's like, "Oh, but can't you just move it over just a little bit more?" And you're like, "I just spent all this time, and you want me?" I'm like, "No, it's fine how it is."
Yeah,
and that's kind of, they think it is a simple fix. It is not.
Yeah.
No, it took me 3 hours to get this done. Now it's going to take me an additional 4 to make the change that you want me to do.
It's like, you're going to like it, you're getting it, and you're going to like it, and you're just going to have to deal with it. Because the studio don't have that kind of moolah no more.
Yep.
I have no time. No, everybody, all the employees have passed out. They're done.
They're done. No more overtime. Tell them to go home and go to bed. Get something to eat that isn't out of a takeout container.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Anyway,
but that was exciting. That was exciting, especially considering a number of the people on the team that were there at the Oscars had little Godzilla figurines with them.
Yes. It was so cool seeing them come down, and they're just like, "Oh, they're carrying all these." It was
Godzilla figurines.
I loved, the one thing I did love is, I don't know who posted it, but it was this gif of Godzilla on stage accepting the award. Whoever did that, I love you. You are an amazing human being. It looked, and he looked so proud of himself. That's what it was. Good job, Godzilla. All right, so that's visual effects.
Yeah, and then film editing went to Oppenheimer, which both teams got that one correct. No surprise there. Best costume design ended up going to Poor Things, which neither team got right, but Mel did get it right.
Yeah.
So because we had chosen Barbie, and I think the other team chose Barbie as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So, makeup and hair went to Poor Things, which both teams got that right, which is not a surprise. If anything else, for the makeup that they did on Willem Dafoe, I think certainly qualifies.
Yep.
Cinematography, Oppenheimer. Again, we both got that one. Production design went to Poor Things. That was one that we got right and the other team didn't. So, because they went with Barbie. Best sound, nobody got right. Because we all chose Oppenheimer and it went to Zone of Interest.
All right.
Best original song went to What Was I Made For from Barbie by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell. So both teams got that one right. Original score went to Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. He'd been winning left and right and center leading up to this, so if he hadn't won, that would have been something really weird. Which, I mean, the guy knows his way around a score. He's also, if you really love the theme to The Mandalorian, he's the reason. Yep. And he's won for score before because he won for Black Panther as well. Best animated short went to War's Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, which Sean Lennon was there for that. Which was rather cool. Apparently Weta helped with the animation on this. Cool. Pretty awesome. So, which both teams got that right. Best live action short went to The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which is one of several shorts that are available on Netflix, right?
I think
Netflix?
So.
That sounds right.
Or Hulu, one of those. It's a bunch of raw doll shorts that Wes Anderson created. But the Henry Sugar was the first one, which stars Benedict Cumberbatch, and just I remember when the trailer went for it, and like just immediately in the first frame, I'm like, that looks like a Wes Anderson creation. So you just know Wes Anderson when you see it. Yeah, so. So that was it was like usually with like the animation and live action, the shorts and stuff, I don't know a whole lot, but I was like, it's Wes Anderson, that's probably a good call, and that was because both teams got that right. Documentary short, the other team got that right, we got it wrong because it went to The Last Repair Shop. We'd chosen the ABC's Book Banning. Documentary feature went to 20 Days in Maripol, which we both got right, because that had won a few awards leading up to it. International feature went to Zone of Interest, which was also nominated for Best Picture, but a good chunk of the time, if the foreign film is nominated for Best Picture and also international, it tends to win international as kind of a miscongeniality.
Yeah, it's a flip side that actually bit us in the butt several years ago, but that's all right.
Yeah. So Zone of Interest won for that. Animated feature, we got right. The other team got wrong because we went with The Boy and the Heron. They went with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which, if we hadn't had a brand new Miyazaki film, I think odds are Spider-Man would have got it.
Yes, it would have. I mean, there was a chance. I did have that little bit of doubt in my head. I'm like, oh, what if they just give it to Spider-Man because? But like, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't not pick Miyazaki. Like, come on. But, I was a little nervous about that one, but it came through. It was like,
I think that the novelty of the style of animation for Spider-Man is worn off. Because when we got the first one, people are like, "Oh my god, we've never seen this style of animation before. Yeah. It's such a unique way of storytelling."
This is my worry about that, because yes, it looks amazing. It is different. It is cool. It's always. I am afraid that if it gets used if it gets overused, like in the Spider-Man movies, the Spider-Verse movies, fine, that's great. I'm just afraid if other movies start to do it and overdo it, it is gonna look. It's not gonna look as cool. Yeah. I think it's only something that the Spider-Verse movies can do, and if anyone else tries to do it, it's like, oh, obviously you are, because I don't know how you can make it how you can differentiate from what they're doing. Obviously, I will be happy to be proven wrong, but I'm like, it's a style that belongs to them, and you just belong to those movies, and you cannot do it in another one. I'm sorry, but you can't.
Yeah. But the fact that we do,
yes,
that animation style, it's like, oh, we've already seen it, and it got its award. And this is new Miyazaki, which we've not gotten new Miyazaki in a hot minute. So
yes, and it will be his last one until he gets bored and wants to do another one.
Yeah,
but then
it's his last one, like he said, with this one and the 5 million before.
Yes, but he is getting up there in years. Life, tends to happen, and it will be a sad day when he leaves us. But let us enjoy. Let us enjoy our dear.
That hasn't. Yeah, at 90-something years old, that's not stopped John Williams from getting, what did I say, his 54th Academy Award nomination. Yeah. So
that is very true. Then again, John Williams, he's got those little statues. They're like they're holding up the toilet seat.
Yes. Yeah. You can't go anywhere in John Williams' house without running into an Oscar.
Yeah.
Or some other piece of gold.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm happy. I'm happy. Boy and the Heron won. That made me happy.
Yeah. Best adapted screenplay, which we talked about. We had a change, a last minute change in our pick, which is good. So the switch from Barbie to American Fiction was in our favor, which is good because the other team got that one right as well. So original screenplay, which Zan likes to say is the miscongeniality of the Oscars. So if you don't win Best Picture, you can win Best Original Screenplay. That's the next best thing. It went to Anatomy of a Fall, which we both got right. Best Supporting Actress went to Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. No surprises there. She'd been winning up until this point. Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr. I'm trying not to get emotional again.
We gushed about that one. Yay.
Yes. Yeah. And then Best Actress, which I knew this was I struggled with making my pick with this one, just because I was like, it could go either way. It was going to be the Battle of the Stones, either Emma or Lily Glad. And I was like, I mean, it really could go either way because they'd both been winning in their respective, awards there. Because Poor Things, like at the Golden Globes, because they have 2 categories for picture. Poor Things is considered a comedy, while Killers of the Flower Moon is considered a drama. So when they had that split, Lily would be winning as a drama, and Emma would be winning for a comedy. And then as we got to awards where it didn't, distinguish between the two, again, it was kind of a toss-up. Lily would win one week, and then Emma would win another. So going into this, it was not like, Jamie Lee Curtis, when she, started building a bunch of momentum and started winning and winning. It was really just this back and forth. So I was struggling going back and forth. I eventually just went with kind of my gut and went with Lily. Obviously, that turned out to be wrong because I went to Emma. So, which neither team got that right, because I think we were all thinking hopefully it would go to Lily. And this is one of those years where it was like, is the Academy going to go back to the status quo and give it to the nice, attractive, white American woman who has already won one of these, by the way? Or are they going to give it to the nice indigenous woman of color who is paving a way for her people, very similar to when we talked about Echo? You know, and the representation of having people of that ethnicity play these parts instead of whitewashing a lot of times and trying to shoehorn someone who is not of that nationality into that. I mean, Emma Stone, she's in that movie Aloha. She's supposed to be half Chinese in that movie. She is white redhead.
Well, I mean, in Hollywood, redheads are getting swapped out with African American people. So
yeah.
This is my take on it. Is Poor Things is the La La Land of this year, and not just because Emma Stone, because I mean I did not watch this movie because it looked weird as hell, but that is probably the one that the Academy, or there's probably, I get the feeling that there were people in the Academy who really, 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 really wanted that one to win, or really wanted to push for it. So that's why it got all the costume design and production design and the whatever else, hair and makeup, I don't know, whatever it was. That's why it kept winning and winning and winning and winning, and Emma Stone got the actress thing. So, because I mean, you say Zan says the best screenplay is sort of Miss Congeniality. Well, I think for this year at least, Poor Things got the Miss Congeniality, and maybe again, everyone's sick of Scorsese, like you are, Rachel. So it's, I don't know. And again, Hollywood is flat out one of the most racist institutions on the planet. Yeah. Even though they pretend like they're not, but they are. They act like they're not, and they lecture everybody else about being so, and the rest of us are kind of like, you're full of shit.
I literally have looked at your track record from year one for the last 95 ceremonies.
They are rich, they are famous, they get to stand up on their high horse and lecture everybody else, and the rest of us just really flipped them off and said, go somewhere else.
We have the receipts.
So don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath, because Hollywood is, they are what they are. And I think again they're starting to kind of get that people are done with their BS, that people are voting with their wallets. Like I said, this was the year of, oh shit, we're screwed in Hollywood. So that's why we got the Oscars that we got. And it was very predictable, very safe, and very, please watch us, because we really need you guys to come back to the theaters and spend your money, please and thank you. After so many years of us chewing you out for our stupidity and shortcomings. So I think, and honestly, like, knowing what reading up on Poor Things and just kind of what it is, it's just kind of like, that's probably the one they wanted to shower with all the praise, but they went the safe route and did Oppenheimer instead, and there you go. So that's my explanation. I hope it makes sense in my rambly sort of way. But
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Hollywood, you suck.
Yeah.
And
but you had a chance.
You had a chance
to break the mold and break the pattern.
And you're scared of your own shadow, but you have only yourselves to blame. Because every time someone tried to point out and criticize, you just dismissed us as a bunch of ignorant hillbilly backward rednecks. And you know what's better. You know what's right. You know. Well, guess what? Didn't spin. Anyway.
Exactly.
So but you know what?
I really think this is this is just another example of the Academy, dip their toe in the let's try a little something different pool last year, and they're like, oh no, the water's too cold. Or no, it's too deep, I can't see the bottom.
They're overcorrecting because
which they do this every time.
Well, it's hard to stay on track when your head's so far up your ass.
Well, that's true. That is very true.
So we'll see. We'll see how things play out. I mean,
maybe it'll only have to be another 15, 20 years before, another woman of color wins a leading actress award. So
something like that. I mean, I don't know what they have to work with this year for next year's ceremony. That one, next year's is the one I'm going to be most interested to see, because it's like, Kate, you kind of just have table scraps out in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to nominate?
Mm-hmm.
The next year's winners is kind of like, oh, we won this year? Well, okay. Mm-hmm. It kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Just give it all to Dune 2 and call it a day.
Yeah, that might be what ends up happening, because we've looked, because we were like, we want to go see Dune 2, and like, well, what else is coming out? And we like looked up what was already scheduled, and some dates change and stuff happens and whatever, but we're like, there is nothing that I think is gonna really do. I mean, Deadpool will probably bring in the bucks, but then again, this is the third Deadpool movie. The other two have gone gangbusters, so there's precedent for that. But some of these others are like, maybe they won't flop, but I don't think there's going to be anything groundbreaking or fantastic. But like we said, Dune 2 was supposed to be in the mix this year, then it wasn't, because they had to move it. So anyway, so that's the Oscars. We won by 1 point.
Oppenheimer. That's the way it finished.
Oppenheimer finished with a bang.
With every way that it has been going the entire season. Cillian Murphy, Christopher Nolan, and Best Picture for Oppenheimer. So no surprises there, which is
and
good.
It was probably the way they wanted it. So that it is what it is. But our team won by
one
freaking point.
By one.
It's a win. I will take it.
Yes. And I mean, as a team overall, we did pretty dang good.
I know. I like
all things considering, because we got, as a team, we got 19 of them right, and 3 of us got 19.
Well,
so,
yay for those! Yay for those!
Yeah. And Chrissy, you were next with 17. Which, again, considering I'm here with like my various pieces of paper that are color coded and marked and got notes and stuff all over the place, and I know, like, Chrissy, you're just like, and that one. So.
And that one, because I've talked about this before, I got little kids. I do not have the time nor the money or, just to be able to do that. And if we're going to go watch a movie, we're going to pick something that isn't homework.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So no offense to those who do go all in and get your algorithms and your formulas and whatever else.
That would be me.
That would be me. Bless you for it. And you actually beat me this year. So
I know it finally worked, but I tied with 2 other people.
I didn't do too bad. I at least didn't embarrass myself.
Yeah.
That's all I could.
Yeah, you got 17, and then Brittany got 14, and then Holly got 10, and I know that's because Holly went with a few outliers just in case.
Yes.
A few just in cases.
With a competition like this, you kind of need some of that, but that's okay.
So I was taking one for the team this year.
You did it.
I mean, you still got 10. That's respectable.
Yeah, which is nothing to sneeze at.
You're in.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. So, I think individually, I think the other team still did slightly better, because I think Sean ended up getting like 22 out of 23, I think.
I think so, from what he had posted on his Facebook feed. I'm thinking so, because
as far as, at least as far as, well, I think because he plays multiple, and one of them, I think he got 22. He got 20, and this one, Nick got 18, Glenn got 18, Charles got 14, Zan got 13, and Keith got 10. So, everybody got at least double digits, which I think is pretty darn good. And Charles loves the fact that he beat Zan. So,
well, good game to the other team. Good competition. It was all in good fun. I look forward to next year. That'll be
same here.
Yep. But now,
I'm glad I don't have to watch
since we won, we have to pick their punishment movie. And because this was because we had a 3-way tie, because usually the individual on the winning team who has the most gets first dibs at picking a movie as the punishment. That's been Chrissy the last few years. But this time it was
the one this year.
it was a 3-way tie between myself, Frank Mendoza, and Mel. And so we put our brains together, and we have the Fangirls. We have a document with an ongoing list of when we think of a bad movie, we just add it to it just to have in our pocket for when we need it.
It's hard to come up with one on the spot. Like, crap, I got to think of one. So if you think of one throughout the year, we add to our list. So
so we have a running list going, and then Mendoza and Mel contributed their choices, and kind of had to explain to Frank that there's a line between bad. In some cases, there are some bad movies, but it's like they're so bad that they're fun to watch because they're going to be bad, and it's fun to kind of hate watch and like poke fun at them. Like The Room or Showgirls or stuff like that.
So some kind of MST3K. That's
exactly
the enjoyment of it. But
so those
has to be a punishment.
Yeah, this is supposed to be punishment, so those don't count. We also don't include anything that would just be awful to watch. So some of like those really gross like snuff films, or a Serbian film. If you know anything about that, it's bad. Birth of a Nation. We're not going to make anybody watch that. So those are definitely off the table.
No Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Exactly. Yeah. It needs to be the kind of bad that they can sit and get through it, but by the time it's over, they wish they gotten those couple hours of their life back. And considering we have Mel on our team, that is handy because Sean is a huge movie buff and watches a lot of movies. So having her to contribute,
and honestly,
something that in theory Sean has not seen, helps a lot.
Probably some of those bad movies that he would just watch and enjoy because they're bad. He's the type to do that. Yeah.
So we ended up with a list of 10. So I will give you the the list of them here. So we have Sphere, which is an adaptation of a Michael Crichton book.
Yes. Oh yes, I remember that one. Oh boy, that one's worse than Congo, and I like Congo.
Yeah, so this is the same guy that brought us Congo and Jurassic Park, and and I read the book and then went and saw the movie, and I was all like, "This is
Book's
bad."
a whole lot better.
Yeah. It's from 1998. It has Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and Samuel Jackson, among others. A Simple Wish, which is a 1997 movie with Martin Short.
Oh yeah,
playing a fairy godmother.
Uh-huh.
A very bad fairy godmother.
It was
interesting to say the least.
Even Disney Channel original movies didn't want it.
Yeah. We have the 1996 John Travolta movie Phenomenon.
No, that one's not too shabby. That one I kind of enjoy.
It's a story about a guy who gets like telekinetic powers and becomes a genius because of a brain tumor.
I know.
Oh, I know that movie now.
Yeah. We have the so cheesy disaster film from 1997, Dante's Peak.
Another one I enjoy. Don't at me.
That one gave me nightmares.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one gave me nightmares, and it still makes me a little nauseous to this day to think of it.
Yeah, the entire scene when the grandmother gets out of the boat to help them get across the lake of acid.
I don't like watching that scene.
And when the guy, or was that in Volcano? I got it mixed up, but there's in one of those movies, the guy jumps off the subway and like slowly melts into the lava. So that one's a Volcano.
That one's Volcano, yeah.
We had this moment in the 90s where they were trying to like replicate the 70s disaster film phenomenon, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah, CGI was like, hey, we can make these things look real. Alert,
not really. Yeah.
Although it still looks good.
Yeah, I would say some were a little better than others. Like Twister. I mean, the special effects I'm sure have not aged well, but it was good at the time. So,
I still enjoy that one.
Yeah. We have the 1993 Dennis the Menace.
Oh boy.
Oh, and see, there was another string in the 90s where, because Home Alone was such a big deal, there was all these movies where kids took on the bad guys with and hilarity was supposed to ensue.
Not so much.
In this case, farts ensued.
Poor Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. So Martin Landau at that point was like, "Oh, the things I do for a paycheck."
Pretty much.
Unfortunately, one that Holly added is not available anywhere in English, so we had to leave it off the list. But that is Dungeons and Dragons 3: The Book of Vile Darkness.
Are you sure Holly added that, or was that me?
That was me. That
was Holly.
Because I remember Jared telling me you should have him watch Dungeons and Dragons 3.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
Jared and I were on the same wavelength with that one.
All right.
Yes.
I told him we were doing this again, and he's like, if you win, have him watch this. Okay.
Yeah. We have the so despised 1995 action film Cutthroat Island.
With Gina Davis.
Which I added this after reading her book. So again, Frank Langella wondering why he does things for a paycheck. And we have the 19 again, them trying to live action adapt things that should not be live action adapted. The 1999 Matthew Broderick hit film Inspector Gadget.
Oh my gosh. The only thing I remember out of that movie is there's a big Yahoo billboard that falls down and hits, it lands on the guy he's pursuing, and he's like, "You there, under the Yahoo billboard." And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so dated.
I will admit, I did enjoy it, but also I was 9 when it came out.
I was going to say, Brittany, you were probably like in elementary school.
I was.
Although I don't
you were the target audience at that time.
Yeah. School, so,
And if anyone wants to watch it, that is streaming on Disney Plus. So that is readily available.
I cannot describe the face I'm making right now.
I could just imagine.
Yeah.
That one's like, I hope Lottie and Alex do not discover this one.
Oh, we are parked firmly on the Bluey stream. So, and if you have not watched Bluey, I don't care if you have kids or not. It's hilarious. It's awesome. I am on the Bluey.
That's what I've heard.
So
Yeah, like I seen the clips. I'm like,
and they're short. They're really, really short. And there's stuff that you're like, yeah, we get that. Anyway.
Oh, and then in a weird bit of serendipity, we have the 1990 film Problem Child. Because if you remember last year, they all had to watch Problem Child too.
I specifically picked Problem Child 2 instead of Problem Child, the first one, because of the vomit scene. Because I was like, okay, this is pushing it a little
Nick
bit.
still complains about.
Yes. Yes. I can vouch. I listened to this conversation last night. Yes, I can vouch. Big time.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yes. Oh, and then I've never heard of this movie. But is a 1994 Macaulay Culkin and Ted Danson comedy, I guess. Father-son comedy, Getting Even with Dad.
I vaguely remember that one.
Where apparently Ted Danson plays a thief and his son tries to con his father into spending more time with him.
Okay, that actually sounds funny. But a little too much liar.
It's 1994 Macaulay Culkin, though, so.
That's true. But I'm like, okay, because I like the idea of a kid trying to con his dad into spending more time with him, and the dad is a crook. But it's got shades of liar. So, and I think I'd rather watch Liar.
Yeah. And then I am so glad that this is not something I have to watch, because I would not be able to get through it. The 1996 IMDb has it listed as a comedy, Joe's Apartment.
Ooh.
Where a guy, played by Jerry O'Connell, named Joe, moves into an apartment where he lives with a couple thousand singing, dancing cockroaches.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the shorts they used to show on MTV. It was so. Oh, yeah.
Ever seen that like 3-panel comic strip of Godzilla walking back out into the ocean with both middle fingers raised, going nope.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Right now.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Or the gift of the Doctor and Sarah Jane.
Yes.
Oh yes.
From
and then turning around.
Pyramids of Mars.
Yes.
Like nope.
Uh-huh. Well, just pretend we didn't see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you thought Cats was bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing that scene from Cats.
Yeah.
I know I have not seen Cats, but I've seen the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know what you're getting at, Chrissy.
I'd still rather look at a bad CGI cat buttholes than a movie where it's full of cockroaches. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and since we actually full out won, we have there's nothing we have to watch. So
goodness for that.
Yep. So with that, I have taken all of those lovely film titles and plugged them into an online picker, in this case, wheelofnames.com, not a sponsor. Put them on there, hit shuffle so they're in a, hit shuffle so they're on the wheel in a random order, and now I'm going to let it go.
Let it ride.
See what happens.
This wheel, you do not want to hit the $1.
Right? Yeah.
Every slot is technically bankrupt.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So our winner is the
quote unquote
Michael
journal.
Crichton book adaptation Sphere.
Have fun, everybody.
Yes.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Oh, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that is this year's Academy Awards.
Culminating in them having to watch a terrible movie. Awesome. Well,
Yep.
there's another year of our competition in the books. So we await your reviews. Anything else we want to touch on before we skedaddle?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Cool. Well, if any of our listeners want to chime in with any of their thoughts on the Oscars, if who won, who lost, your favorite performance moment, what have you, send us some feedback. Oh, what?
I was gonna say, and how well if they did predictions, how well did they do?
Yes.
If you did predictions, let us know what your score was. You do not have to watch a terrible movie unless you really, really want to, and in which case, God bless you. But yeah, send us some feedback. Let us know. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com. That has links to our social media. We have show notes there, links to various things we've discussed on the podcast. You can leave comments. It'll leave comments on our social media as well. We have Facebook, Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel where we post our podcast as well as extra little fun things that we may have floating about. And when you can download the podcast wherever you get podcasts, we're on there. So leave us a review and a rating as you feel so inclined. And also we have a merch shop and we have a Patreon which helps support the podcast. So if you feel so inclined and you have the means to do so, please support us that way, joining our Patreon or buying something from our merch shop. And however it is that you support us, we thank you as always for listening and just being our audience and having a good time while we're out here hanging out and being lovable dorks. Having a good time, y'all. So hope everybody's doing well, and those who have to observe daylight savings time, we're praying for you. Pray for us.
Yeah. Pretty much. So.
Pretty much. We're here. We'll make it. We'll figure it out. But anyway, take care.
Yes. We'll look forward to next year with the addition of a new category. So we'll have 24 categories to figure out next year. So it should be interesting. But but for now, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Doda saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And all things considering, I told Nick this last night when we were talking about punishments. If I had to do it all again, I'd still rather watch Barbed Wire over How Green Was My Valley any day.
Oh.
Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefivishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FivishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.